In this video, we'll discuss the events that occurred in Germany in 2016. The story of Maria Ladenburger, a 19-year-old resident of Freiburg, caused a huge resonance in German society and raised many questions not only about the work of the local police, but also about the entire government of Germany. Maria was born on December 6, 1996, in the family of Clemens and Friederike Ladenburger. According to the German press, both her parents were lawyers. Moreover, her father was also a high-ranking official in the European Union. In 2016, Maria was a student at the medical faculty of the University of Freiburg. In her spare time, she worked part-time in one of the urban centers that provided assistance to immigrants. On the night of October 15th to 16th, 2016, Maria attended a party organized by the medical faculty. She had a good time with her friends, and when she started to get ready to go home, it was about 2:30 a.m. Maria lived on campus, about 3 miles from the university where the party was. After saying goodbye to her friends, she went outside and rode her bike towards the campus. It was at 2:37 a.m. At 8:20 a.m. on the same day, someone who was jogging along the river Dreisam saw a woman's body in the water near the shore. Eyewitnesses called the police and an ambulance. However, there was nothing the medics could do to help. They identified the victim as 19-year-old Maria Ladenburger. She never made it to her dorm. A jogger found her body about a mile away. During the forensic examination, the experts established that the cause of Maria's death was drowning. At the same time, someone also tried to strangle her with a scarf, which the police found at the scene. That scarf contained a sample of male DNA, apparently belonging to the perpetrator. The police also found out the probable motive for the attack on Maria. The forensic medical examination established that someone forced the girl into intimacy before her death. The police formed a special commission of 68 investigators to solve this case. In addition to the DNA on the scarf, the police found several black hairs with bleached ends, 7 inches long, in the bushes near the crime scene. Importantly, this strand of hair contained the roots, which allowed the authorities to obtain another sample of male DNA. This sample matched the one on the scarf used to strangle Maria. However, the police could not establish the identity of the person to whom the DNA samples belonged, since there was no information about him in the databases. On November 8th, the police offered a reward of €6,000 for information that could help solve this case. Thanks to several individuals, the reward amount soon increased to €35,000. The police questioned more than 1,000 people, including the ones who attended the party, which was the last for Maria. At the same time, more than 100 people voluntarily provided DNA samples for comparative analysis. Most of the people who provided their DNA were those who attended the party. Yet, none of these samples matched the DNA found at the crime scene. Residents of Freiburg were shocked after details of Maria's death appeared in the press. People bought up all the pepper sprays in the city as they understood that the criminal was still at large. In addition, cases of harassment of women have become more frequent in the city. A few days before Maria Ladenburger's death, several refugees harassed a young woman in the same area. Another similar incident occurred 2 weeks earlier. Self-defense courses have never been so in demand in Freiburg before. Many people went to local sports centers to learn how to defend themselves. Meanwhile, 25 additional officers started patrolling the city to increase security. "People are afraid to go outside alone at night," Mayor Dieter Salomon said. "We cannot put up with this situation." 25 additional officers may seem like a drop in the bucket, but for a city with a high crime rate, it was a signal that the authorities were finally interested in Freiburg's problems. The police checked all possible leads. However, the decisive moment in identifying the perpetrator was the hair and scarf found at the scene. Knowing that the man they were looking for had long black hair with bleached ends, the police started analyzing the recordings from many city cameras. Looking through the CCTV footage from the city tram, they saw a man with a similar hair color and length. The man had an undercut, short hair on the side and back, and longer hair on top. This recording was from the night of October 16th at 1:57 a.m., 40 minutes before Maria left the party. The suspect got on a tram near the university. After about 20 minutes, he got off at the final stop, which was less than a mile from the place where a jogger later found Maria's body. As the police reported, while on the tram, the suspect was bothering two girls, but they eventually managed to rid themselves of his attention. On December 3, 2016, almost 7 weeks after Maria's death, the police arrested a suspect, 17-year-old Hussein Kavari. Initially, the authorities considered him an immigrant who came to Germany from Afghanistan. Yet, during the investigation, it turned out that he was not 17 years old and that he was not a citizen of Afghanistan. Kavari entered Germany without an ID card in November 2015. When crossing the border, he said that he came from Afghanistan and that he was born in 1999. Hussein Kavari stated that he was 16 when he entered the country. He did not have any documents confirming or refuting this. Due to his stated age, Germany granted him asylum as an underage unaccompanied refugee. They sent Kavari to live with a foster German family in a picturesque town near the Black Forest, where he went to a local school, learned German, and received government benefits. Such a trick with age fabrication turned out to be a common phenomenon, which at that time gave an advantage not only when applying for asylum, but also in case of breaking the laws. After all, the punishment for juvenile offenders is less severe. We'll return to the suspect's age later because it's just the tip of the iceberg in his biography. After the police arrested Kavari as the main suspect in the Maria Ladenburger case, his image appeared in the press. While the German media tried to hide his face, the TV channels and newspapers of other European countries did not do this, publishing a non-blurred picture of his face. The lawyer from Greece, Maria Eleni Nikopoulou, saw photos of the arrested young man in the media and recognized him. She defended him in court in the spring of 2013. At that time, he was charged and found guilty of a life-threatening attack on a young student on the island of Corfu, Greece. Kavari robbed a 20-year-old student and threw her over a cliff. The girl flew about 25 feet down and, by some miracle, survived, thanks to the bushes on which she fell. She spent 17 days in the hospital and underwent 3 surgeries. The police arrested Kavari, and when the girl recovered, she identified him as the man who attacked her. However, Kavari himself did not understand the reason for his arrest, stating that she was just a woman when talking to the police. The court sentenced a young asylum seeker to 10 years in prison for theft and attempted life deprivation. What's important here is that during the trial, he claimed that he came from Iran and that he was born in 1996. But when he entered Germany, he claimed to have been born in 1999. So here's the question. How did Hussein Kavari get to Germany in 2015 if he was sentenced to 10 years in prison in Greece in 2014? And here's the answer. He was released on parole in October 2015 due to prison overcrowding in Greece. He violated his probation by not regularly reporting to a police station, coming there only once. They put him on the wanted list, but it only applied to Greece. At that time, the borders were open, and Kavari, along with thousands of other refugees, went to Germany, where he fabricated his age to impersonate an underage unaccompanied asylum seeker. After Kavari was arrested as a suspect in the Maria Ladenburger case, his fingerprints were compared with fingerprints from the crime scene in Greece. This confirmed that he was the same person who had attacked the woman in Corfu. After learning all this, Germany had many questions for the Greek authorities. Since the police did not initiate a search for Kavari via Interpol, he entered Germany unhindered. Germany's Federal Minister of the Interior, Thomas de Maizière, called it gross negligence and was outraged that Greece had not shared information about this refugee. The suspect would have been caught at the border and checked by the German security authorities if we had received information from Greece. All this happened in a reprehensible way. We will have to talk to the Greeks about this process, Maizière said. While the police in Germany and Greece were trying to sort things out among themselves, ordinary residents of Germany, including the ones from Freiburg, demanded the authorities to take action against uncontrolled immigration. In response to the discontent of residents, Freiburg's mayor Dieter Salomon stated they shouldn't use Kavari's origin as a case against immigration policy. He proposed to treat it as a separate incident. At the same time, the Alternative for Germany party called Maria Ladenburger a victim of Angela Merkel's welcome culture. Unfortunately, Maria Ladenburger's story was not the only one of its kind. On December 27, 2017, in Kandel, a refugee from Afghanistan, 15-year-old Abdul Dawodzai, attacked his classmate, 15-year-old Mia Valentine, with a knife in broad daylight. The motive for the attack was that Mia stopped talking with him. As a result, she died in the hospital, and police arrested Dawodzai. The girl's parents doubted that Dawodzai was 15 years old and demanded to find out his age. They determined his age by X-rays of his arm, collarbone, and teeth. The expert concluded that Dawodzai was at least 17 years old and most likely around 20. Still, they tried him as a minor, meaning the maximum penalty was 10 years in prison. On September 3, 2018, the court sentenced him to 8.5 years behind bars, which provoked the anger not only of the girl's parents, but also of the entire society. It is important to note that a year after his conviction, Dawodzai was found dead in his prison cell. He had committed self-harm, and doctors had not had time to treat him. On March 12, 2018, an underage unaccompanied refugee from Afghanistan, Ahmad, attacked 17-year-old Mireille Bold in her apartment in Flensburg. Mireille and Ahmad dated for 2 years, but when the guy started controlling her every move, the girl broke up with him and started a relationship with another guy. As a result, she died from 14 stab wounds. At the trial, Ahmad claimed that he was 17 years old at the time of the attack, and that they should try him as a minor, which implied a maximum sentence of 10 years. But the examination showed that Ahmad was not 17 years old, as he claimed, but about 29. The judge agreed with the examination results, deciding to try Ahmad as an adult. The court sentenced him to life imprisonment. However, under certain conditions, the German law on life imprisonment provides for the right to early release after 15 years. Authorities also urged not to forget that exactly the same crimes are committed by Germans. When the police said that the perpetrator was a refugee, the tension in society started to grow. Maria's parents, Friederike and Clemens Ladenburger, refrained from condemning speeches. Instead, they founded the Maria Ladenburger Foundation in memory of their daughter. This foundation brought them a civic award of 20,000 euros from the Federal Association of German Newspaper Publishers in Berlin. If at some point my children or grandchildren ask me what I did to help the world develop in the direction that I thought was right, I at least want to say that I took advantage of the opportunities I had. This quote from Maria served as the basis for creating this foundation. It supports students of the University of Freiburg in difficult life situations. For example, first-year students who do not have enough financial resources to study, especially refugee students. Friederike Ladenburger said she wants people to remember her daughter's name not only because of a terrible act, but also because of her life. Clemens Ladenburger stated, "The crime against Maria has deeply shocked people in Germany. Together with other events, it brought several political issues to public discussion. As Maria's parents, we do not want acts of hatred or cold-blooded contempt in our society to cause hatred and incitement to others. Otherwise, the destructive spiral threatens to undermine the foundations of social coexistence." As parents, they considered expressing their Christian beliefs, but decided not to speak publicly. We believe that our restraint, our interest in an objective discussion of these complex political issues, ultimately serves us well. By creating the foundation, they wanted to encourage people to use their educational opportunities and individuality to find their place in society. When our life became full of darkness, pain, and confusion, a deep sense of gratitude settled in us. Thanks for the gift, For our Maria, this attitude helps to control fate, said Friederike Ladenburger. We felt like God had given us the strength to cope with this fate. He is with us. He accompanies us. We realized that we now have a new life task, to cope with the violent death of our daughter, and we will cope. We've been saying this to each other since the beginning, and we keep saying it now. And the feeling of gratitude that we talked about helps us to prevent all other feelings from arising so strongly that they take over, said Clemens Ladenburger. Now, let's get back to Maria's case. In addition to DNA evidence, the police now had Hussein Kavari's confession. The trial began in September 2017. Kavari admitted that he forced Maria into intimacy and took her life. Moreover, the man also confessed that he lied about his age. He did not tell the court how old he was, but only confirmed that he was of legal age. While under oath, the forensic dentist said the defendant was probably between 22 and 29 years old. About 8 months before the attack on Maria Ladenburger, Kavari had his tooth extracted during a routine dental procedure. He kept it as a souvenir that the police found while searching his apartment. According to the expert, one can establish the person's age by the annual rings in the tooth's root. That's how the forensic dentist knew Hussein Kavari's age ranged from 22 to 29 years old. The method is safe and gives accurate results. X-ray examinations, for example of wrist bones often used to diagnose aging, are considered relatively imprecise. Therefore, senior prosecutor Eckhart Berger called the dental examination crucial evidence in establishing the defendant's age. Kavari claimed that his father died many years ago in Afghanistan. However, the police established that his father was alive and lived in Iran. The court got a clearer picture of Kavari's age after the prosecutor contacted his father by phone. According to the father, his son was born in Iran on January 29, 1984, which means he was 32 years old at the time of Maria's death. As a result, they tried him as an adult. During the trial, he said that a couple of hours before the attack, he and his friends had consumed a large amount of alcohol and took some prohibited substances. After partying with his friends, he got on a tram and drove to the area where he later attacked Maria. In her spare time, Maria worked part-time at the Immigrant Assistance Center in Freiburg. She tried to help people who found themselves in a difficult life situation. By some evil fate, she died at the hands of one of these people. As the crime sparked public anger and disgust, social media users posted sarcastic thank you messages to Chancellor Angela Merkel over her liberal policy that brought more than 1 million refugees and immigrants to the country. During the trial, prosecutor Eckhart Berger had reminded the two jurors sitting alongside 3 judges that on trial is a criminal offender and not Germany's refugee policy. Kavari sobbed in court as he read out a statement of apology to the victim's family. He claimed he had nightmares about Maria's death every day. I beg your pardon. I want to apologize to the family of Maria. I wish I could undo it, he said. What I have done, I am sad for from the bottom of my heart. I live with the agony of what I did, and this torment destroys my life by and by. At the trial, Hussein Kavari told everyone about his challenging fate. He described his journey from Iran to Turkey, Turkey to Greece, and finally through Serbia and Slovenia to Germany. He spoke about life among the ruins, eating from garbage in Greece, theft, and the use of illegal substances and alcohol, while staying in a foster family in Germany as an underage refugee. In court, he stated that he suffers from psychological conditions and has nightmares and frequent insomnia. Among other things, his stress was due to worries about his homeland. I have many problems. I have a lot of problems, Kavari said. During his testimony, he described the night he took Maria Ladenburger's life. According to him, a few hours before the crime, he and his friends drank 2 bottles of vodka. Then he drank beer and wine alone. He also smoked several cigarettes and used illegal substances. He then got on a tram near the future crime scene. He bothered other girls on the tram, and when he reached the final stop, he stole a bicycle there. However, he fell off the bike because he was too drunk. When he saw Maria, he pushed her off the bike and put his hand over her mouth. She started screaming, and he decided to strangle her with a scarf, which made her lose consciousness. According to Cavari, he noticed that Maria Ladenburger was a beautiful girl and decided to take advantage of the fact that she was unconscious. Then, he carried Maria into the water, where she drowned. Authorities believe that Cavari moved Maria into the water to destroy the evidence left on her body. Cavari claimed that he was too drunk and had no control over his actions. He said he didn't want it to end the way it ended. Prosecutors disputed his version of events and alleged his actions were premeditated. A psychiatric expert testified that he believed the remorse Cavari displayed was fake, telling the court that the defendant exhibited a great and persistent readiness for violence and warned there was a high risk of him reoffending. Cavari harbored an interest in aggressive sexual practices and a hostile attitude towards women, he said. Moreover, he does not show remorse and compassion for the suffering of others. Maria's parents decided not to attend the trial. A lawyer they hired represented their interests. Maria's father, Clemens Ladenburger, said, "We wanted the most constructive, objective justice possible, but without additional media hype, political statements, and impact on the course of the trial due to emotional statements from the victims, that is, from us." When asked by a journalist if they had any desire to meet face-to-face with the criminal, Maria's father replied, "We kept this question open. In any case, it was unclear from the very beginning whether we would stay away from the process from beginning to end. But during the discussion, we asked each other whether Maria wanted us to be there, and we concluded she does not want that. Moreover, based on the criminal's characteristics and behavior in court, we increasingly believed we would not achieve anything by this confrontation. We knew it would not help us." On September 22, 2018, Hussein Cavari was found guilty. Presiding Judge Catherine Schenck condemned the extreme lack of empathy of Cavari, who was handcuffed and wearing a black hooded jumper, before reading out the verdict and sentence, which many in the courtroom greeted with applause. The court sentenced him to life imprisonment. As mentioned earlier, the German law on life imprisonment provides for the right to early release after 15 years if the parole board concludes that the convict does not pose a danger to society. However, during sentencing, the judge noted the extreme severity of Hussein Cavari's guilt. It means his early release from prison after 15 years is legally possible, but practically unrealistic.